Ahead of NFL Week 12, where the Miami Dolphins host the New England Patriots, a double dose of bad news, if you will, on a couple of key players Miami is hoping to get back on the football field sooner rather than later. We'll detail them being Bradley Chubb and Kendall Fuller. But before we get into the nuts and bolts on today's video, make sure you do help us out here at Dolphins Today by sharing today's video. We're trying to become the largest Dolphins YouTube channel we can be, and it'd be helpful for you to send it to coworkers, family members, friends. So help us out and share today's news to anyone who needs to be informed. All right, we'll start with cornerback Kendall Fuller because Mike McDaniel was at his press conference today and said that Fuller was sweating on the bike today, but he is personally pessimistic about Kendall Fuller being available this week as he is still in concussion protocol. Suffered that concussion in Week 10 against the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football, and this now looks like it's going to be the second straight week where Kendall Fuller is going to be inactive for the Miami Dolphins. This would be the third game he misses this year for Miami. Missed one early in the season due to concussion, missed this one. So this is 2 concussions now for Fuller on the year that could result in 3 games missed total, which is not ideal because he's been very key for this Miami Dolphins secondary. And we've seen a little bit of a changing of a guard for this cornerback room for Miami. Ramsey has been solid, Kohou's healthy and ready to go, but it's really a question about who fills in for Kendall Fuller on the boundary opposite of Jalen Ramsey, and that might differentiate week by week. But when you talk about the loss that is Kendall Fuller, it's a massive one because he's been really, really good this year. And I said this in the offseason. I don't want to go back and give myself a pat in the back because I've been wrong about a lot of things. But I'll say this. Kendall Fuller, I said in the offseason he was going to be a massive upgrade over Xavier Howard from a year ago. And he has been that. He's been great. He's been good in coverage, allowing less than 60% passes completed while being targeted. Only 1 touchdown, 4 PBUs, and was graded out very nicely in the high 60s by PFF in both overall and coverage grade. So it's a big loss. But the Dolphins are figuring out a way to combat Fuller being out for the second straight week potentially. Well, against the Raiders, the cornerback snap counts look like this. Ramsey and Kohou played every single snap defensively. That's how many snaps the Dolphins were on the football field on the defensive side. But intriguing enough, the 2 corners that filled in was Storm Duck and Cam Smith. Cam Smith, a second-round pick in 2023, only played in 8 snaps. The UDFA out of Louisville, Storm Duck, actually played the majority of the snaps when they went to a nickel 3-corner look. They did mix in a lot of safeties as well. Anthony Weaver changing the way in personnel out there on a snap-by-snap basis, but it was fascinating to see Storm Duck get the playing time over Cam Smith, and we'll look at how each of those 2 players fared in this past game against Las Vegas. But if you had to choose a corner to replace Kendall Fuller for Week 12 against New England for the second straight week, who would it be? Type SD for Storm Duck, type CS for Cam Smith. Today's pinned comment, so if you hit with a YouTube ad break, let it play, scroll down, and answer today's question. Well, Storm Duck's numbers might be a little bit bad in comparison to Cam Smith when you talk about receptions allowed, but he also played, like I mentioned, about 28 snaps more than Cam Smith. But Duck was graded out pretty solid by Pro Football Focus, in the mid-60s in both overall and coverage, and to be fair, in 36 snaps, only allowing 3 receptions for 21 yards, I'll take that. Allowing 7 yards of completion is pretty good. And when you talk about Cam Smith, it's not just this week. He missed a lot of the beginning of the season with an injury. Then since he's returned from the IR list, he has not been that good. He did not play a lot last year. We know that. And Dolphins fans were frustrated about him not playing in that Vic Fangio system. But in the limited playing time he has gotten this year, he has not been good. He got crushed in that game against the Arizona Cardinals. Was not that good as well against the Buffalo Bills. Cam Smith has not had a good second year in the NFL, which begs the question if Chris Greer missed on this pick, and Storm Duck deserves to get more of the playing time in this Dolphins secondary because of how poorly Smith has played. But when you talk about what the Dolphins will have to deal with this week, it is a good week to miss Kendall Fuller. Now, we said this going in the last week as well, that if you're going to miss your top secondary member opposite of Jalen Ramsey in multiple weeks, The Raiders and the Patriots are two good opponents because the Patriots wide receiver group is not good whatsoever. Demario Douglas is their top guy, but he's also a slot, so Kader Kohou's going to have to deal with them. On the perimeter, it's Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Kayshon Boutte, and I am going to trust Storm Duck or Cam Smith to hold their own, and I'm going to trust Jalen Ramsey to do his job on Sunday as well against a limited wide receiver room. Now, there is one person that you do have to be concerned about, and that is the opposing quarterback. The last time Miami played New England this year, it was Jacoby Brissett still at the helm for this team, and he was not good that day and almost led a comeback drive for that team. Drake May is a different story, the third overall pick from UNC. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism, the arm talent, the mobility, and ability to create plays off structure. That's what I'm concerned about the most. It is going to be more of a test in the secondary than the Raiders, even though the Raiders' weapon group might be better than New England with just Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Hunter Henry and these wide receivers, not so good. It is going to be more difficult to defend because Drake May is just so much of a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew, and he could beat you in the off-platform stuff. He'll take deep shots. He's got a cannon over the middle of the field. It will be tougher than the game against Las Vegas, but because of how poor that offensive line is in New England and their weapons, I still expect the secondary and defense in Miami to get the job done. All right, we're going to get over to Bradley Chubb in just a second, but I got to tell you about Mando, the best whole-body deodorant on the market, and it is safe to use anywhere on your body, whether it be your pits, balls, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet. The Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers to make sure you are smelling nicey on a day-to-day basis. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and it also has free shipping. And there's so many different products that I use from Mando to make sure I'm smelling good on a day-to-day basis. I got a couple of them in studio right now. The Mount Fuji normal deodorant, my favorite. It's the only one I use on a day-to-day basis. But also the deodorant wipes, which is key for me. Most of you know I'm an avid golfer. So when I go out and play golf, I might have plans, whether I'm going to a bar, meeting friends out afterwards. The deodorant wipes are perfect on the go to make sure I'm still smelling good after being outside working up a sweat. I'd trust no one else other than Mando to make sure I'm the best smelling person in all scenarios. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Please support our show and our sponsor. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. All right, let's move over to Bradley Chubb now because Mike McDaniel said that he is not ready to return to practice. He is still on the PUP list trying to recover from that knee injury he suffered at the end of last season against the Baltimore Ravens. And remember, you get activated from practice window to the active roster, but you also get moved from the PUP list /IR to the 21-day window. So there's a multiple-step process here for Chubb to return, and he has not even got to step 1 of getting back at practice. And a lot of people have asked me when to expect Bradley Chubb to return. And I said earlier on the year, maybe best case scenario at the end of November, early December. Well, obviously, as we get in the final 10 days of November here, it's not going to be this month. So I would expect, hopefully, Bradley Chubb to return sometime in December, probably targeting maybe that mid-December, late December rate. So maybe like week 15, week 16, if all things go well over the next couple of weeks. But one good thing is when we talk about Bradley Chubb still missing time, you have an emerging star in your first-round pick, Chop Robinson. And I've shown these numbers quite a bit over the past week, but I just think it's so important to talk about on how impactful it is that Chop Robinson has started to play good football on this Dolphins defensive line, because he was non-existent in the first 6 games, and in the last 4 games, almost coinciding when Tua Tagovailoa has returned for this team, he has been your best pass rusher, 2 sacks, 18 pressures, 14 hurries, 2 quarterback hits. The rookie from Penn State has started to show why Chris Grier fell in love with him and selected him at 21st overall. But I will say this when it comes to Bradley Chubb. Even with Chop Robinson's emergence, it is very important to get Bradley Chubb back this season. Now, you can talk about this in multiple ways. It's important to get Chubb back to help you try to get on a playoff run and continue to stack wins and go on a 6 wins in your last 7 games to make the postseason. It's also important if you want to move off Bradley Chubb and potentially save some money in this offseason by trading him post-June 1st and getting $18 million off your cap space, well, you're going to need Bradley Chubb to showcase that he's still got a little bit of juice and is still solid of a pass rusher. So if you do trade him in the offseason, you can get decent capital in return rather than like a 3rd, 4th round pick. If Chubb comes back for the last 3 weeks of the season, has a sack in each game, looks explosive, looks good, well, maybe you can get a 2nd round pick. I think 1st round pick might be out of the question, but a 2nd rounder could still be in play. We're going to round out the show in just a second, but make the call, make the prediction, because I still think there is a chance, even though I predict the late December return for Chubb, that there's a chance he doesn't play this season. Let me know your thoughts. Will he play or will he not? Type P for play, type W for won't. All right, one last thing I did want to share to be a little bit more positive on today's end of the show. Tua was talking about his offensive line, and specifically center Aaron Brewer. He said that he would like to have Brew here for a long time. Remember, Aaron Brewer signed this offseason 3-year deal coming over from Tennessee to replace Connor Williams, and a lot of Dolphins fans at the time were not happy with this move. They wanted to bring back Connor Williams because he was really good in his 1.5 year here despite some snap issues. But Brewer has been absolutely sensational. He has been a top 5 graded center according to Pro Football Focus. He has been ready to play every single game, and the PFF grades are great. I mean, high 70s overall, great in the run game, solid in the pass blocking game, only allowed 2 sacks, and more importantly, have only been called on 3 penalties. Aaron Brewer has been a godsend on the interior of this offensive line, which was the main concern coming into the season with question marks at left guard and right guard. We talk a lot about how Chris Grier should be canned, and we talk a lot about how he is not good at upgrading the trenches. But we have to give him his flowers when he makes a good move. There's been some dicey ones, Jordan Poyer and others, but Calais Campbell's been great, and so has Aaron Brewer. This was a great signing by the GM of Miami. Hopefully he will just find a new left guard and right guard in this upcoming offseason. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've shared today's video as we are trying to become the largest Dolphins YouTube channel there is. Content every single day leading up to this Sunday's game against New England, so make sure you are subbed, and I'll see you then. Go Fins.